Good morning. In this upcoming episode, we're going to go explore an area in the northwest part of the Mojave Desert, located in California. Along the 395 corridor, we're going to go visit Johannesburg, Red Mountain, and a place called Atolia. A little bit of remnants. Some of it's a living ghost town. You got a population that's there in Johannesburg and Red Mountain. Less than 300 people. Nobody lives in Atolia, but we're going to go check it out. So come along with me. I got my coffee, and we're going to go check it out and do some exploration. On December 20, 1895, the Rand Mining District was organized. 26 people signed the document creating this district. The region has enjoyed a mining legacy that is played out in three major stages. The 1890s witnessed the first mining frenzy, and by 1900, more than $3 million in gold had been extracted from the region's colorful mountain ranges. In 1905 came the tungsten boom that created the camp of Atolia. Tungsten was an essential element to the steel industry, particularly when it came to making armaments, especially during both World Wars I and II and later in Korea. The last stage came in 1919 with the discovery of silver in and around what became known as Red Mountain. In December of 1896, when Randsburg was little more than a cluster of tents, the Johannesburg Water and Townsite Company was busy laying out a rival town site that would be well planned, even having piped water in the homes. This is an interesting article written in the Los Angeles Times dated July 11 of 1897. The reading is quite difficult at times because their style was somewhat strange by today's standards, but let me read a portion of it about the beginning of Johannesburg. While Johannesburg has only, as yet, about 1/6 of the population of nearby Randsburg and cannot boast of as many mining locations, it would be a great mistake to suppose that it remains unconscious of its own merits and of the many advantages it enjoys over other parts of the Rand District. It goes on to read its claims, and justly, a town site properly surveyed on a level stretch of ground and with a view over the Paiute and Tehachapi ranges that cannot be excelled for beauty. It further enjoys the luxury of having a bountiful supply of water piped all the way from the Johannesburg Springs and laid down in pipes in all streets of the town and in every house. The entire town and all there is in it is practically the property of Johannesburg Land and Water Company, and the managers of it may be cordially congratulated in having planned and executed as well appointed a town as for its size can be found anywhere. And in addition to what they have already done, they look hopefully forward to seeing Johannesburg at no distant day the terminus of a new branch railway, which has been surveyed across the desert from the Santa Fe line to Kramer Junction. When that road is in operation, it will, as they claim, make Johannesburg the center of and distributing point for all of the country round about that area. As the Rand Mining District expanded to include Johannesburg and the Red Mountain area, the need for a railroad became more important. In May of 1897, the Randsburg Railway Company was incorporated. The line was completed on January 5th of 1898, and it began operation on January 17th of 1898. During its 35-year history, the Randsburg Railroad served a number of the local mining operations and it also provided passenger service. The Randsburg Railway ceased operations in December of 1933. It was a victim of the Great Depression and a decline in the mining industry. The rails were removed the following year. To this day, there is some evidence of the railroad bed that parallels the Highway 395. I thought this might be a good time to show you guys around Johannesburg. Let's take a tour, see what's going on. This is the old Johannesburg Railroad Depot. It just shows a single story here. They took off the second story at some point and relocated it somewhere else in town. This is what's left of it and what it looks like today. The dominant mine in and nearby the Johannesburg city was the King Solomon mine. This mine was discovered in 1896 by brothers Henry Lewis and Harold Ashford. The King Solomon mine was a steady producer of gold for many years, providing reliable work and wages, which in turn helped build the economy of the thriving towns in and around the area. That's a quick tour of Johannesburg. Let's go check out the Red Mountain area. On April 12, 1919, the discovery of ore bodies now being worked by California Rand Silver Mine was made by Jack Nosser and W.H. Williams. The California Rand Silver Mine was also known as the Kelly Mine. It would produce over $7 million in its first 4 years of production. It would be one of the richest mines in California. It would continue production until 1929, when the price of silver dropped significantly. It is estimated that the mine's total production was over $12 million. That equates over $215 million today. Today, this area is known as Red Mountain. The town was originally known as Osdick. Osdick came to be in the summer of 1919. This was during the nearby town of Randsburg's third big mining boom. Pete Osdick was one of the original miners in the area, and he felt the town should be named after himself since he had lived in the area longer than anyone else. W.H. Williams, another miner in the area, that was one of the discoverers of the California Rand silver mine, contested the town should be named Hampton, which was his middle name. Both parties would end up laying out a town site and both applied for a post office. Pete Osdick won the post office in February of 1922, and the area officially became known as Osdick. Osdick continued to have controversy over its name, and by 1929, the Postal Service decided to put an end to the naming dispute and dubbed the town Red Mountain. That is the name that remains today. Here's the famous Silver Dollar Saloon. The Silver Dollar Saloon opened the same year that the Kelly Silver Mine was discovered. That was date 1919. This was one of the first saloons to open during that silver boom. The Silver Dollar was a speakeasy during the Prohibition, and for a period of time the entire highway here was lined with brothels, gambling houses, and saloons. Originally, the Silver Dollar opened as a Northern in 1919. The name was changed to the Silver Dollar in the 1930s. The Silver Dollar was one of 30 saloons operating here in Red Mountain. These buildings that you see right here was known as the Owl Garage and the fueling station. This building right here is known as the Owl Cafe and Hotel. It was built in 1921. For many years during the Prohibition, the Owl was an illegal booze-making and gambling joint. I can't seem to find any solid information about this beautiful building. I saw some notes that stated it was an abandoned schoolhouse, and then I saw others that said it was an abandoned church. I'm leaning towards an abandoned church building. Here's some aerial view of the old Rand silver mine. It's been fenced off, and I also read that in 2022 the community received a $1.5 million grant to clean the sediment of arsenic from this historic gold and silver mine, which is known as the Kelly Mine Complex. Shortly after the turn of the century, prospectors south of Red Mountain uncovered what they called white iron. It was a scheelite ore from which tungsten is made. However, it was not until World War I that the tungsten boom flared up at Atolia. Atoya, dating back to 1905, was California's first tungsten camp. The name Atoya was a combination of two names belonging to prominent tungsten miners, Atkins and DeGolia. These were the first miners to put up the first tungsten mill around 1907. Atoya was becoming very wealthy and being very quiet about it, arousing no outside interest. The Atoya Mining Company produced close to $100,000 worth of ore in 1906. That equates to $3.4 million in today's dollars, their first year of operation. By 1913, just 7 years later, they had produced over $1 million worth of ore, equating to just a little over $34 million today. Atoya's biggest year was 1916. It produced about over $3.5 million in ore sales. That equates to almost $100 million in today's dollars. Atoya's population swelled to 2,000 people. A collapse in tungsten pricing soon after caused the Atoya Mining Company to produce no ore whatsoever in 1920, 1921, or even in 1922. However, tungsten was still to play a support role to keep Atoya alive. Between 1923 and 1939, the Atoya Mining Company sold over $3 million worth of the ore. This could have been a mess hall, it looks like. With those hoods right there, that could have been a stove area. Well, this concludes my presentation of the Rand Mining District, or at least a portion of it, along the Highway 395 corridor. Thanks for watching. The Rand Mining District, quite a neat area. We explored most of it there along the Highway 395 in this video, starting with the town and community called Johannesburg, and then Red Mountain, and then over to Atoya. Randsburg is just a mile off the Highway 395. I did a previous video on that area, so this one just concentrates on the three along the corridor 395. And I remember as a kid when we would go up there, my dad would take us up to the camping areas in the eastern Sierras, and as soon as we hit that location, it felt like we were well on our way to our camping trips. It was pretty exciting. It's a very neat area to go explore, but you got to be careful. There's still open pits and areas that can be rather dangerous. And there's not a whole lot of written history about that place after the late 1930s, but you can still see a lot of evidence of the ghost town. A lot of those buildings were built in the 1920s and 1930s. So next time you go along that corridor, take your time, take a look at it, look at the history. Thanks for coming along, and thanks for watching.